DFS podcast with hosts John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? John Impemba here with Colby, Conway, breaking down today's Monday MLB DFS main slate. 11 games maybe on this main slate here. Colby, we have some weather concerns. We'll get into all of that for everybody. We'll break down the slate position by position. We'll bring in some lineups at the end. We'll talk some DFS player props for everybody as well. Colby, how was your weekend been? You're wearing that Houston Texans hat, so maybe it could have been better, but overall, not a terrible way to kick things off.
All you can do is double down. Might as well wear the shirt too and just go all for it. I also got my my wedding ring with the Texans logo on it right there too. So I guess I'll triple down. But some encouraging notes. But glad to get we got one game tonight, obviously, but get back in some MLB DFS. I didn't play yesterday, so I'm ready to get back on the horse.
Yeah, Justin Vreeland on the playbook today. That should be out for everybody shortly. Again, it's a big slate here on a Monday. Usually Mondays, sometimes you have sort of those intermediate or shorter slates. We got 11 games here, but as I mentioned, a lot of weather concerns. Before we jump into our RT Sports player prop pick'em plays today, I think it's crucial to discuss some of the weather issues that we have going on around the league. Again, I'm looking at our guy Kevin Roth over on Roto Grinders does a really great job breaking down the weather for everybody. He's an actual meteorologist, Colby. So I'll defer to him, the actual meteorologist here. And all of the games that are on this main slate, it feels like half of them have rain potential in them. In New York, Boston, again, I live in just outside the city of Boston. We know rain is going to be in and out of the area basically all week. There's going to be very limited times for dry games here. He's saying that there's a good shot of an in-game delay in this one. So not great, right? Not great for if you want to use some of their pitchers like Cutter Crawford or Clark Schmidt tonight. Good chance those guys get a couple innings, sit for a little bit, and then don't come back out. Arizona versus the New York Mets. Again, I was kind of in on Jose Quintana tonight. Again, another game where storms could be in play here, could have a late start in play, which is the best case scenario. The hope there, of course, is that they don't start, then have to stop. Tampa Bay, Minnesota, another spot here where there'll be rain in Minnesota around this time here. Could be coming and going and may interrupt the game, but we'll actually have to wait and see. He feels the hope is that it holds off altogether, but still thinks there's some potential for rain. Kansas City, Chicago, again, a spot I was looking to maybe target tonight. Dylan Cease been kind of bad. Maybe a late start he's suggesting there. So, and then we have a Coors game, and there's a potential for a pop-up storm in Coors. So I just rattled off six of the games here, or 5 of the games on an 11-game slate that could be impacted by weather. So as we get close to the lineup lock, close to the roster lock, make sure everybody stay up to date when it comes to the weather, because there's nothing worse than locking in some plays and then having a game get called. James Grande had the unfortunate incident of that happening. I believe it was in Minnesota when the Dodgers, I want to say, were playing, and he had a line that was just going off. And then all of a sudden the game, a pop-up storm comes over, and it doesn't go away. And he has Kershaw in his lineup. He had Betts already had a homer, and had to end up eating zeros there, and it negated everything he had going on. So nothing worse than having rain guys in your lineup and not getting the points for them.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where I can live if there's a lot of rain on the slate, selfishly, if it's not many of the games I would like to go after with some certain plays. Right. And it's one of those where, listen, I'm a millennial. I don't let my phone get too far away from me, let alone a computer be too far away. So I would say tonight, if you're looking at those games, you better keep those devices close. And if someone asks why, you tell them why. It's the stupid weather, and it's impacting my lineups.
Exactly. With everybody rolling in here, we appreciate all of you today. If you haven't yet liked and subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? We have plenty of shows all week long, including fantasy football shows all week long. We have 3 fantasy football live streams to get you guys ready for the kickoff of each and every weekend. Of course, we're here live every day at 5 p.m. Eastern time to get you ready for the MLB DFS slate, soon to be the NBA DFS slate, but for now, the MLB DFS slate, getting you guys ready live for that. Colby, before we break down the DFS slate, though, shout out to our friends over at RT Sports. If you go to rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23, new users will get a 100% deposit match up to $200. You can use that in their DFS Pick'em contest, which Colby and I are going to give you our favorite DFS Pick'em plays for tonight right now. right, taking a look here at the RT Sports DFS Pick'em board, Colby. Where do you want to go first with today's plays?
I'm going to go to that Texas-Toronto game, and we are going with George Springer. And we're going to go with more than half a run scored, a.k.a. Springer is scoring a run in this one. Dane Dunning has not been good of late. And when you look the top third of that Toronto lineup, BVP success against Dane Dunning. Dunning has served up a 313 average and 550 slug to right-handed hitters. George Springer over the last 2 weeks, 965 OPS against right-handed pitching. Wouldn't be surprised if Springer brings himself around at some point in this game, but if not, there's a bunch of bats behind him that'll bring him around.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. Again, Dunning got lit up the other day, piggybacking off of Eovaldi. You and I were worried about that start for Eovaldi anyways against Houston. And then Dunning was the one that came in, and it was just as bad as Eovaldi was. For me, speaking of Houston, that's where I'm going. Jose Altuve, more than half a run here tonight. Again, we're looking at least the expectation that Oakland's going to go with the opener and the starter in this game with Ken Waldesuk as the long reliever. Talk about attacking him at any chance we get. Never mind the fact that Jose Altuve has been white hot, as has this Houston Astros offense there. You wish the Houston Texans offense was as good as the Houston Astros offense, but not yet. The Houston Astros offense here. So give me Altuve more than the half a run scored.
I like that one, and I like you. I mean, that all that means that the Houston Texans have subtly crept into your mind subconsciously.
I'm looking
so
at their logo right in my face, so it's throwing me off here a little bit. Where else are we going today with some picks for you?
I mean, it's Patrick Corbin Day. We like to celebrate that one. If you go to that Pittsburgh game, Brian Hayes, 5.5 fantasy points. He's been very, very good of late. Continues to hit. He's the newfound leadoff man in Pittsburgh. He should continue to hit. Always been good against lefties. He's been good of late.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Again, Patrick Corbin Day, unfortunately, not on the main slate, but that doesn't mean he can't get some action other ways. And going to Brian Hayes fantasy points, certainly a way to go. So an opportunity to 6x your money. Colby, we do have a football game tonight, though. Do you have maybe a football prop you like for people?
The one that I think I like, I know the narrative with rookie tight ends, but I'm going Dalton Kincaid. He did have a receptions one. It looks like they pulled it. But I will take that receiving yards line. There's a little bit of weather there, as we're that's the theme of the night in sports. There's going to be a little weather.
Hopefully not the rain we had last night in the Giants, because that was pretty ugly.
Hopefully not. But when you look at the Jets, their corners very tough on wide receivers. So I'd expect Buffalo to use their first round weapon here. They went out and got this guy for a reason. He's double negative here. He's not going to be used. I expect them to use him early and often.
Yeah, listen, one of the reasons that people were sort of confused or concerned was that Buffalo didn't really address their wide receiver position in the offseason, but instead they went and drafted a tight end with the expectation of using Dalton Kincaid, sort of as that big slot wide receiver. So I like that. So we got an opportunity for everybody here to 10x their money with 4 plays here tonight. George Springer more than a half a run. Jose Altuve more than a half a run. Brian Hayes more than 5.5 fantasy points, and Dalton Kincaid more than 26.5 receiving yards. Remember, go to rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23. New users will get a 100% deposit match with their first deposit. All right, Colby, taking everything down here, taking a look now at the main slate over on DraftKings for this 11 games. We talked about weather being a big concern. Let's take a look at the pitching here. Tyler Glasnow in Minnesota, one of those games that possibly has some weather. $10,800. Brandon Woodruff is at 10-3. Framber Valdez is $9,800 against Oakland and Houston. Logan Gilbert, $9,200 against LA. And Chris Bassett at $9K against Texas. Those are your top 5 price players here. I got to get your thoughts here at the top end of the slate.
It's always hard to ignore Glasnow just because his strikeout upside is just absolutely immense. And you could say, I don't know if anyone, maybe even in the game other than Strider, has a higher strikeout floor than him in most starts. Minnesota actually has been kind of good against righties of late, but there's a ton of swing and miss in that lineup. So obviously Glasnow is in play. I do like Brandon Woodruff a good bit. Been on him since the beginning of the year. Miami's offense does not scare me in the slightest. But when I'm looking at the board here, I think I prefer both Valdez and Gilbert to those two. The Angels lineup just got worse with Rengifo being done for the year, hurting himself before getting to the batter's box. So a shame there, but that lineup's now weaker. He's at a good price point. And Logan
Chanel's been is questionable as well for today. So you take him out of that lineup, it's even worse.
If you take the Angels players that are on the injured list, then maybe I'd be considering fading Gilbert tonight because that lineup would be better than what they're putting out there of the quote unquote healthy guys. So,
Right.
and then Valdez, it's one of those things. I think he's got a better chance tonight of that dominant run versus the I'm going to let up 5 earned runs and walk 6 guys.
Yeah, 3 starts against Houston. I mean, he's against Oakland this year. He's been dominating 3-0, 2.25 ERA, 16 strikeouts in 20 innings, 5 earned. You think even his last outing against Oakland, he actually got touched up a little bit. Yeah, 5 innings, 4 earned there during that really rough stretch, and then he no-hits Cleveland. But I would agree with you. I think he gets back to it here. You look at his home ERA at 2.91. Framber was a core play for me. I kind of toyed with the idea of Glass now because of the just elite strikeout potential that he has. And he's coming off of a 14 strikeout game. Minnesota highest strikeout rate in baseball, very repeatable, but they also hit a lot of home runs. So if that weather becomes an issue, you're worried about the home run ball, then maybe Glass now at 10.8 is a little bit too expensive on an 11-game slate. But for me, it was definitely Framber, and you make a great point on Logan Gilbert. He hasn't been as dominant at times, and then he's been really good at other times. So I'm willing to give him a run here against the Angels. Did not fare well in his lone start against them, got roughed up. But like you mentioned, this is not the same lineup that he's going to be facing then that he's facing tonight. So 2 really great calls. I am out on Chris Bass. He struggles a lot against lefties, and there's some lefties in the Texas lineup that I do want exposure here to today. In the mid-tier range, we have Sonny Gray against Tampa Bay, Jesus Luzardo against Milwaukee, Dylan Cease against Kansas City, Gavin Williams against San Francisco. If you're looking at the 8K range, any pitcher for you particularly you like, or are you looking more down some more value plays?
When you get into that range there, they're both in the same game, but I could make a case for both Gavin Williams and Alex Cobb. Yeah. I know Cobb's had some struggles of late, but if you look at his home road splits, the home numbers are very good, and this Cleveland offense should not scare anybody. Last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching, we're talking a 288 WOBA, 82 WRC plus. They don't scare me. Gavin Williams will have a nice strikeout upside against a very swing and miss prone Giants team. So in that mid-tier, I would look at that. And if I'm not mistaken, that game total, I think the last time I saw it was like 7.5 for that game of San Fran and Cleveland. So I think both attacking both of those pitchers could be in play.
Yeah, I like Gavin Williams a lot against San Francisco's numbers against righties have been pretty brutal. And he's at 8K. You like the home ballpark advantage here. My one worry is it was the runs, right? It's like, so Alex Cobb's recent struggles is fine, but Cleveland obviously has struggled to score. Bo Naylor's starting to hit the ball a little bit better. They have Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor's back in their lineup. So they are getting a little bit more production of late than they had in the past. So I lean Gavin Williams, but I could see going the other way there as well. Value range here, I went Jose Quintana initially in some lineup builds. Obviously now the weather is a bit concerning in that one. I know Arizona has some guys that hit lefties, but you and I talked about it. Against Washington, he gave up that immediate leadoff double, gave up the earned run, and we're like, we knew better not to go against Washington. 7 innings in that game, had 4 strikeouts. He's had 1 bad outing all year in Atlanta. I mean, who can't say that this year, right? So I'd be willing to give him a run if that weather feels like it's either going to be an early delay and then they play, which is what Roth is saying. So no mid-game delay. They just once they start, they start. I like Quintana a lot at $7,300.
I do too. If you're risk adverse, you may look elsewhere. You're gonna have to keep a close eye on the weather, but it's a really good spot for him. He's just it's like we said the last time he was on the slate. He's a quality start machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he is. That's what he does, and that's what he's been doing. He's going to get run support tonight because he's going up against a bad pitcher and human. Yeah, so exactly. Hopefully karma serves it there. Let me ask you this, because this is interesting. You hear with Colorado Coors Field, there's that narrative. Sometimes the first game there never quite maybe delivers what you think offensively, and we know how bad Colorado can be against lefties. Like I'm looking here, since August 1 at home against a lefty, Colorado still has a top 10 strikeout rate, or one of the worst ones at 25%, with just a 70 WRC plus. In like a GPP, can you go Jordan Wicks tonight?
Yeah. This has really been the theme this season when myself and Grande have been on the show. It's, the old narrative or assumptions of like you can't ever pitch a pitcher in Coors doesn't really hold up anymore because of how bad the Rockies offense has been. In years past, the Rockies always hit at home. It didn't really matter, but that's because those lineups had, Tulowitzki or Arenado and that whole crew here. Now you're looking at this lineup and it's a bunch of young guys that Ryan McMahon might have the most power of anybody on that team. Chris Bryant's out. There isn't a lot of stuff and many guys to fear really anymore in that lineup. So going at them isn't the same as it used to be when you're in Coors. Now it's still Coors Field. A guy could leave a pitch up, he goes out. That's just the breaks. But yes, I am perfectly fine going Wicks here at 7K as a pivot off of Quintana. If you're worried about the money, the weather, or if you're just looking to be a little different, because people still don't pitch starting pitchers in Coors. So you get some low rostership expectations there for him for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if you need to save. It's going to be one of those things when you make your lineup. Is it going to come down to $300?
Yeah,
to have to come off to Quintana. Like if you need the money, sure, I think you can do it. I can't. I still don't think I can trust him in cash, but I think in GPP, I think he's worth a shot.
I would agree. Then the only other guy that I took a peek at, but now the weather obviously is making you change a little bit, thinking is Cutter Crawford. I know his last couple starts haven't been good, but he did face the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, 6 innings, 1 earned in that game. The Red Sox like him. He just has been a back and forth guy for them all season long. But the Yankees, this is the spot really to attack them against righties. And then they just lost Jasson Dominguez to a torn UCL. So a guy that gave them a little life, a little spark into their lineup. Now he's gone again. So if you think the weather holds out in this one, again, it's a risky game. But if you are risk averse, $5,700, Cutter Crawford, Red Sox are favorites here. Could be a spot.
Yep. Yankees last 2 weeks against righties, league worst batting average, second worst strikeout rate.
Still can't. They're just in the gutter. It's kind of wild to think about. So any other pitchers on your radar that maybe we didn't discuss here, Colby?
No, I think sometimes I can't do Brady Singer as much as I would like to. I can't do it anymore. I'm not even gonna talk about him because I don't want to get sucked back in, and I'm completely all the way out on Reed.
Next you see like the White Sox and their numbers against righties over the last 14 days. You're like, ooh, maybe.
I'm not
maybe.
looking.
And then Brady Singer goes out there, walks 5, and it's over.
Yeah, and no Reed Detmers for me. I'm out on him tonight. Not even considering him.
Yes, definitely no Reed Detmers. I am very much in on Seattle. We'll get to that here as we move across. All right, moving over to catcher here. Where are you looking to go? We have Chris Bass, as I mentioned, struggles against lefties. So Jonah Heim will be on the flip side, but he has struggled lately. But this has been a good spot potentially to attack. William Contreras has been good against lefties. You have Luzardo there at $4,900. Any of these top guys interest you, or do you look more towards the mid and value tier tonight?
Well, it's something where I would like to go value, and then I believe I saw that Gabriel Moreno was placed on paternity list.
Yeah.
So we don't get him. So I'm honestly probably just going to ride the chalk and go with Yan Gomes.
Yes.
I think you have to. It's against a lefty. He's got good BVP numbers against Kyle Freeland, and it's in Coors. So I think you just have to kind of ride the chalk there, and it's such a good price. I'm surprised he's not above 4K being in Coors Field.
So that was the first thing that drew to my attention last night as well when I was doing the research for the podcast was, all right, Coors Field, lefty, where's Yan Gomes priced at? I was like, oh, it's only basically the same price he's been at all season long. So why not let it ride? So I'm with you there. Obviously, it wasn't the greatest spot for Moreno if you were liking Quintana, but if you didn't, then Moreno was going to work. But then, like you said, he's not in the lineup here anymore. Omar Narvaez is someone that we discussed a few weeks back. He still hasn't been anything special, but Zach Davies is pretty bad, and Narvaez has been decent in years past. So if you want to give that a possible look, I think you could as well. But that was really it for catcher. I didn't find myself looking to spend up anywhere, and there wasn't a ton of value. So it's basically a plug Yan Gomes and move on.
I think that's the way to go. If you did want somebody else, like if you're in on Toronto, like I am tonight, you could go Alejandro Kirk, 333 over his last 10 games, 976 OPS. But it's pretty much Yan Gomes or bust unless you're going to go full bore Toronto stack.
I agree. All right, first base position here. Again, Cody Bellinger, $6,800 is your top price player. I went down to the mid tier though. I like Nathaniel Lowe at 45, and if this game plays with Boston, and I feel better about using hitters than pitchers, but Tristan Casas, Clark Schmidt has struggled against lefty power hitters. Casas homered again yesterday. It's just a really good spot for Casas at 44.
That game has my 2 favorite first basemen. I'm right there with you, and it's lefty bats against Clark Schmidt has been good. Should be good again tonight if the weather holds. Outside of that, if you go down a little bit more, Montero for Colorado, if you are going to go at Wicks, he's been quite good of late. I believe he made the value vault or the value plays article today at fantasyalarm.com. So that's an option that you could certainly go with. Outside of that, I'd don't really like first base. Every build I've had has come back to either it's not come back to either. It's been Casas in pretty much every lineup I've done.
I was gonna say,
that's just what I keep coming back to. I'm going to act like there's other options.
Plugs nicely. I think Josh Naylor could be a guy tonight if you're not in on Cobb at 43. Ty France, I know struggles lately, but I don't think Detmers is all that great. He's $3,900. Could take a beat there. Jose Abreu has 16 RBIs over the last 10 games. Again, Miller's going to open, and then Waldichuk's going to come in for a couple of innings. Feels like a good spot to get Jose Abreu riding a 5-game hit streak right now. Again, that 2-homer, 7 RBI game obviously kind of help, but still, you take that away, he still has 9 RBIs over the last 10 games. That is plenty of run production here. I like Abreu as my value first baseman tonight.
Another one you could look at too, again, if you go Toronto stack, Brandon Belt, good at home, good against righties, fits right in there hitting cleanup. So Brandon Belt could be an option at 4,100. I would really like to have considered Hunter Goodman, but I can't do $4,000 for him.
Yeah.
If he was cheaper, I'd consider it more. And he also has a super small sample against lefties. But if he was priced down a little bit more, he would be more attractive. It's just that 4,000 is just, it's bad when you look at the guys around him.
Agreed. Gavin Sheets is always my dark through home run play too as well. He has a lot of power. I know the numbers you look at, he's only got 9 home runs, John. It's like true, but he doesn't play all the time. He does have some good power to him. And again, if we don't like Brady Singer, we can take a look there. Second base position, Mookie Betts is your top price guy. Again, if you want to go there, you can. I already mentioned, though, I'm in on Altuve today at $6,300. I'm not paying $61 for Nico Horner. If a $6,100 Nico Horner beats me tonight, then hats off to you. That's you paid the price. I'm not willing to go there. But those are the top 2 for me. It's Betts and Altuve, and I think for today at least, I think I'd choose Altuve over Mookie.
I think I agree, to be honest. I think I'm settling right in there with you as well. This second base is I'm paying up or we're going way down.
Oh, way down.
That
way
middle
down.
tier, I don't like the middle tier. Like I'm looking at, again, lefties against Clark Schmidt. I'd look at like Emmanuel Valdez.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go down even farther. Ronnie Mauricio's got a 353 WOBA against righties over the last 2 weeks. I really like the Mets offense tonight too. So, I mean, he's an option there as well. It's Altuve, Valdez, or Mauricio. Those are the 3 that I just keep coming back to.
Yeah, I'll throw one in there. He's got multi-position eligibility, but Kevin Biggio is the other guy for me. $2,900, get a lefty against Dane Dunning. You mentioned you liked the Blue Jays here tonight. 320 with a 911 OPS over the last 10 for Kevin Biggio. Under 3K play on an 11-game slate, going to help you spend up. And we mentioned, if you're not going all the way up at second base today, you're going all the way down. Emmanuel Valdez has that power, as you mentioned. Mauricio's been a guy you and I have locked in now for a week plus. Lofton, I think, could be a little interesting too. He's going overlooked in this range, but he's come up and he's just hit, right? 348,000 OPS in the 7 games that he's played. So if you're not in on Dylan Cease, you could go there. But for me, I largely went Cavan or I went Altuve in my lineups today.
Same.
Over at the third base position, you have these top-end plays, Ramirez, Devers, Bregman. Maybe give a look at Christopher Morel with the power numbers, and really just his numbers this year have blended more towards righties. All those guys in good spots. Morel with a ton of power. Bregman's going to get Waldichuk at some point. Devers against Schmidt. Ramirez against Cobb. How do you break down the top 4?
I like Devers, and I think just because when you look, 295, the average is good, but he hasn't been like the best version of Rafael Devers of late. Could maybe that push some ownership off of him? I think he's really interesting amongst that top crew there. I'm not really looking at Bregman tonight, although he has been quite good of late. Of those top 4, I think Devers is my preferred target and slide him in with at least Tristan Casas, if not another Boston batter too.
Yeah, I would agree with you. In the mid-tier range, anybody for you that stuck out? Again, I had Eugenio Suarez really, and then Michael Garcia for me.
Well, mine was Cavan Biggio, but you stole him at second base.
Well, you can talk about him at third.
Yeah, I was holding off for him at third just because there were more options at second base that I liked.
That's the best part of the multi-position eligibility is you can play one of the second base we talked about and then throw Cavan Biggio at third.
Yep, absolutely. So I think that's going to be the play. And if you go down a little bit more, you could maybe look at a Mark Vientos if you want to go at Davies. I know you want more like lefties against him, but you could look to Vientos. There's a couple value options, but I think third base is really highlighted by one of the big boys, namely Devers, or just go down to 2,900 and get yourself some Biggio and some Toronto bats.
Yep, I would agree with you 100%. Again, Cavan's just in a really great spot here. at 29, and then you're just spending up. The Red Sox offense at home has been pretty good. The one thing with Devers is he had that MRI on, I think it was the wrist, and he's been like okay. He drove the ball pretty well. He had a home run robbed from him over the weekend, 295, but only the one homer over the last 10 days. So I have to wonder if that wrist is at all bothering him a little bit. But I do like him and Bregman for sure. Again, I'm all, not to be repetitive here, but I like Houston a lot tonight. Shortstop. One of the reasons why you should look to spend down at second and third is because Corey Seager's on the slate. Going up against Chris Bassett. This feels like just like the absolute smash spot for him. We've talked Bassett struggles against lefties. Corey Seager continues to be just ridiculous here. 6 homers over the last 10, $6,500 for him. He is my top shortstop today.
On a point per dollar basis, when looking at shortstop, let me tell you, my 5 outside of Ronnie Mauricio, because he's down there. My 5 favorite shortstops are Corey Seager, Bobby Witt Jr., Dansby Swanson, Bo Bichette, and Francisco Lindor.
You mean the top 5 price guys?
We are paying up at short tonight. Simply put, Bassett stinks against lefties. Corey Seager, check mark. Bobby Witt Jr., good matchup against Dylan Cease. If I'm not mistaken, Dansby Swanson's like 7 for 15 in his career against Kyle Freeland. So you got that. If you love BVP numbers, then you should go look at Bo Bichette because he's 5 for 11 with 3 home runs in his career against Dane Dunning. We're paying up at shortstop tonight. It's just a matter of which one we pick. If we have the money, Corey Seager is my top choice. Bichette's been slumping a little bit, but I cannot quit like a Springer, Bichette, Belt, Biggio, and just start loading up on the bees in Toronto.
I would agree with you 100%. Swanson there, 7 for 15, as you mentioned, with a homer, a double, and a triple. He's hit the cycle of Kyle Freeland in his career there. So, I would agree with you 100%. Again, there are other plays, obviously, if you wanted to go down. You mentioned Mauricio there as a value play at $3,300. But for me, it was just always spending up at short, taking some value at second, third. Even like catchers, the value play. Like we had a value pitcher, so no reason you can't get to some of the top priced options at the shortstop position here this evening. Going on over to outfield here. Again, we mentioned Bellinger, and I've talked it. I like a lot of Seattle here today. Julio Rodriguez is $6,600. Teoscar Hernandez is in the mid 4K range here. 2 guys against Detmers. I'd be looking to get in my lineup tonight.
Absolutely. And you could also go Teoscar Hernandez has been very good of late, especially against lefties. So a lot to like with Seattle. Some other guys in the outfield that I like. I've said it already with the RT Sports play, but George Springer, 965 OPS over the last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching. I like him. Brandon Nimmo's 4 for 8 with a homer in his career against Davies. Davies stinks as a human and as a pitcher. 8+ ERA on the road, 342 WOBA to left-handed hitters. I think if you want to get a couple Mets bats, you'll want to add Nimmo in there because he's in a good spot. And then another Mets bat, DJ Stewart. Did we get him cracking the lineup?
Let's see here. We do, hitting 5th.
Cool. 5 home runs in his last 24 at-bats against righties. So, cool.
Good way to another value outfielder to help you spend up and get some of those elite plays. No arguments here with me when I was doing the show. Again, that was some of the names I found myself just immediately looking to gravitate towards as well. And again, like all the Red Sox outfielders, the lefties there, they'll be in against Davies, like we've talked a lot about here today. We're just some obvious plugs. Lourdes, as we talked about against Quintana, if you're not in there, Arizona bats. Certainly some guys that can hit lefties. Varsho against Dunning. I know you liked Toronto here. So a lot of good plays here in the outfield, some value plays for everybody. Why don't you give us your home run call tonight?
Another good outfielder call, too, I'll mention, too, is Seiya Suzuki. I believe he's in.
Oh, yeah, Seiya.
I think he's in the value vault. Or the value plays. I think he's in there. I'm sure he'll probably make it into the playbook as well, but he's in a good spot.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you my home run call for tonight. It's going to be George Springer.
George Springer, nice. Again, not a name we've heard often, but I agree. I'll just go chalk it with it. We're gonna go Seager. Use the cover of the show this morning. He's just my favorite play on the slate. So Seager for me. What's your favorite stack today?
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say Toronto after how much I talked about him. So give me the Blue Jays.
I'm gonna go Houston here for my top stack. If you're gonna go contrarian stack or value stack, whichever one you want to go with, how are you leaning that way today?
If there's going to be some weather, ownership might be down. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be contrarian, but I'll go Mets.
Mets, dude. The Mets are where I want to go, so I'll double tap that. I think the Mets are a pretty interesting spot. You're going up against Zach Davies here. I don't find him to be all that good. I also like Seattle today against Detmers. I think another spot we could be looking to attack. Value play of the day for you?
Value play of the day, I'll go Kevon Biggio.
Kevin Biggio, I like that one. I'm going with DJ Stewart. We'll follow that one up. That one feels pretty good. Are you concerned we didn't talk many Dodgers today against Sevilla?
Yeah, it's something I started thinking about going with. Avila, every time I go against him, he just does a little bit better than I expect.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I'm also surprised too we didn't get more Padres in there going up against Gavin Stone, who's really struggled at times.
Yeah, I think Soto's a good one-off play. I don't know if I trust the rest of that lineup, but so Stone's been decent against righties. Lefties have been hammering him. So I think Soto's a good one-off for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he struggled of late, but the numbers are good for him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he homered tonight too, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, let's build a lineup for the folks at home here. We liked Framber, and let's see if we can do Framber Gilbert. Let's see what we can do. Framber Gilbert. We liked Seager, so we'll plug that in. We had Kevin Biggio for our third baseman. Let's see how cheap we can get. And third base. Kevin Biggio for third base.
Or throw DJ Stewart in there.
Good. Stewart. Outfield. Yan Gomes at catcher. We have Brayu at first. Second, we had Mauricio. All right, $3,900 for two outfielders.
I think we can get Springer. He's 48, and then do we have one more value at $3,000?
We probably do.
It's got to be one somewhere, right?
I mean, Weiler's a lefty against against Clark Schmidt. That's not terrible. Coming off, he had 5 hits the other day. 2 for 4, 5 hits in 2 days. Oh, that's Willie Castro. Where's Weiler? Weiler there he is. 1 for 4. Yeah, 5 hits the other day. 5 for 5 for Weiler or Brayu. I don't mind that at $3K. A little power against Clark Schmidt there.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you want me to go double spend up, we just made a lineup that gets you to. Now, it only has 1 game of Coors exposure. Not sure if that worries you or not. I would like to, I think you can make some pivots here to get Seiya in your lineup. I think Seiya is in a great spot here. You can kind of play around when you are double spending. If you want to pick one pitcher to go down from, is it Framber or Gilbert?
It would be Gilbert.
All right, we go down from Gilbert. Let's go Quintana. Assuming that game weather, which we're looking for, maybe go up, and we can definitely get Seiya now. Seiya is at 42. So now we have Seiya and Yan. We have $700 left over. I think that gets us Casas. It does. So we can go up from Abreu and get Casas there. It's not bad. We liked that was one of our top first basemen. We're still plugging in Seager. Still keeps Springer in there. Cavan in the middle, Mauricio we like there. So some good lineup correlation for everybody. If you have any questions, find us in the Discord. You can follow us on Twitter as well. If you have any questions in the chat, feel free to throw them in there. Also, we'll be back tomorrow live at 5 o'clock Eastern time to break down the rest of the slate. Be sure to check it out. If you're not already a member of the Fantasy Alarm family here, again, you can go ahead and join today. Have awesome deals going on, a 7-day free trial. You have the 40% off discount on the annual subscription package. If you get your 7-day free trial, obviously you'll get the Week 2 NFL DFS product included in that. So you get access to all of our NFL DFS content for Week 2, access to our premium Discord, and everything you can need to take home and be successful here during the fantasy football season. But, of course, you get access to all the content we have on site, baseball, NASCAR, MMA, you name it. We cover it here at Fantasy Alarm. Colby, good luck tonight. And I think you're back tomorrow, right? You're back on the show tomorrow. So
sure am.
We'll have Colby on with us at 5 o'clock tomorrow Eastern. Good luck with your lineups tonight, everybody, and we'll talk to you all later.